Hello and welcome to making jewellery with Warhammer spares. Is this a way of making money with these spares you're never going to use? Watch the video to find out.
Where's my earring?
Hang on. If you find you have a lot of spare parts left over like myself and are upset that Games Workshop are increasing their prices again, why not try making stuff you could sell? If your painting skills are the same as mine, getting commissions or selling your final models is going to be difficult to do. So I figured, why not make jewellery? For the individual pieces, I figured a simple paint job would be all that's needed. So after they've been base coated with simple colours, it's time for the Pot of Skill. If you're unsure of what Agrax Earthshade is, and are new to the hobby, this special liquid is applied all over the model to create fake shadows and to make the base colour look more interesting. The only real problem with using the Pot of Skill is that it does make everything look a little bit too dark. A quick and easy way to remedy this is to use a dry brushing technique. This will highlight the edges and make the model look a little bit more brighter. Usually you can use the original base colour to apply the highlights. I, however, like to use a lighter colour. For the green skin, for example, I add a little bit of yellow to make it brighter. As to make green, you use yellow and blue. So if I wanted it darker, I'd add more blue. It's as simple as that, really. As this project is more of a proof of concept, I'm not too worried about painting all the small details correctly. So I'll just haphazardly paint the teeth white, as well as just applying a white dot for the eyes. I believe that's all that'll be needed to bring out the details. This is because jewellery generally isn't looked at from 3 inches away. For the larger piece in my collection, I opted to not dry brush it because I wanted to have more practice with my brush. As this was a particularly larger piece, I only used the original base colour for the highlights. The technique I used is what's called edge highlighting. For this, all that's needed is to put the paint onto all the raised edges. This will force the contrast in the colours, helping to create the illusion of depth and sense of scale. As for the gold pieces, I do like to highlight them using a silver colour, as I find it makes the small details pop a little bit more than using gold. Luckily, opening the Citadel pots, the paint gets everywhere, so I can use my thumb as a wet palette. As I have not used my new fluorescent paints, I need to test them first. I do find that using my thumbnail is a good test bed for looking at the paints. I try different techniques to apply it to my thumb to see how the paint reacts, so I know how to use it when it applied to the model. Applying a white base coat is essential when using fluorescent paints. This really does help them pop in the light. To give the jetpack a little bit more detail quickly, I used a decal. Unfortunately, the Games Workshop decals are very thick and suffer from silvering, so I used some microsol to melt the varnish on top of the decals to make it look nice and smooth. When it came to removing the painting supports from the pieces I finished, an idea formed in my head that I could use that little bit of cocktail stick to add more detail. Using the Vallejo Game Effects dried blood paint, I painted around the cocktail stick, also known as the bone that snapped now. It is a severed arm, so the end does have to look realistic. This was then finished up using the Vallejo Game Effects fresh blood paint, remembering to coat the outside near the edges to sell the I just ripped this arm off of an orc look for your jewellery. When it came to the jetpack, I wanted to make a medallion. After sifting through magazine clippings to find a background that fitted, it was time to cut it to size and glue it into one of the bases. I'm not quite sure why I have multiple bases with no figures attached to them, but I can only assume it's Games Workshop's way of justifying the price increases by supplying me useless plastic I'm never going to use inside their little kits. As for the largest piece of jewellery I was going to create, I thought a bit of modelling will help try and sell these as arts and crafts jewellery. After applying some air drying clay to the back of a larger Games Workshop base, I started to demonstrate that I'm not very good at sculpting. My plan was to create a nice swirly effect as if the head of the model was poking through a sort of portal. If you're trying this for the first time, I would recommend to always keep your tools wet to avoid them sticking to the clay, making it much harder to model it. It's always a good idea to keep in mind as well that the clay takes hours to dry and not minutes. I don't know why I thought it took minutes, but I rushed this as quickly as I could. Being that I have no clue what I'm doing, I also forgot that I could actually remove some of the clay to make it a bit easier. Integrating the headpiece into the poorly sculpted warp portal, I made sure the model head was sufficiently wet and pushed it very firmly into the clay. This would make sure that once everything was painted and glued together, the little rat head would look like it's coming out of the clay. Normally I don't really care for the bases, but this is probably a good time for me to clean it this time. When removing the headpiece, I can clearly see that the imprint is left behind. For this next part, it is a clear demonstration of what happens in my mind and head does not happen in reality. I honestly believed flooding the dried clay with water and then dropping various inks on top would create a tie-dyed sort of portal thingy effect. It worked perfectly in my mind. I'm just not quite sure how it didn't work in reality. So when I looked at it in the morning after it dried and saw the greeny blue mess, I thought dry brushing it with some luminous paint would magically make it look like my original imagination. This obviously didn't work, so I just glued the headpiece and thought I'd be done. A little while later, I remembered I had some pearlescent ink. This ink is supposed to be transparent and not opaque. When applied, should give an iridescent effect. I was very happy to find out that it is completely opaque, and the metal flakes covered the paint job underneath perfectly. To solve this problem, that shouldn't have been a problem in the first place, because I couldn't be bothered to thin my paints with water for this project. I thought that maybe thinning the paints down with water would be a good idea at this point. As my superior intellect does surprise even myself at most times, thinning the inks with water actually made the metallic mica powder spread more evenly and made it actually transparent. To highlight the edges of the swirly portal of mystery, I added lime green ink to the pearlescent ink to all of the raised edges of the portal. I'm still unsure at this point, several days later, if any of this was a good idea. But there's no Control-Z undo in life, so I'm going to say this was a complete success. So to finish the badge, it's a simple process of supergluing a badge clip to the back of the base. If you're wondering where to get your own little badge clip, I ripped this one off of another badge. But if that one wouldn't come off, I was going to hot glue a safety pin to the back of the badge. As for the earrings, I had some thermal cutting wire, which happened to be the right size for the butterfly clips I found in my house. I also cut the heads off some actual earrings as well, because my stud replacements would be better than the little diamonds that were on the originals. It turned out the drill holes for my supports for painting were actually the same size as the wire and stud pins. Applying a little bit of super glue on the end of the wire and pushing it into the holes finished the process of making earrings. Now we can all agree that when using the right little presentation box, your partner, your date, your friend you don't want to be in the friend zone anymore with, will be anything but overjoyed when opening the little box to find the amazing Warhammer earring. As for the iridescent paint, you can kind of see how it works, but trust me, in reality it looks a lot better. As for the jetpack medallion, I shall upgrade it shortly. Again, who could say no to earrings like that? And don't worry, you can also make masculine jewellery. A key ring like that is the absolute nuts. Who wouldn't want that? As for the severed arm that's pointing, supergluing it to your trouser button means you never have to tell the ladies my eyes are up here, not down here. As for making the medallion, I found that tearing a hard drive apart to permanently erase your history contains this handy little metal disc. So with a display like this, the money's just going to keep rolling in. Now, no one's going to mess with your dice roll with a wrist keychain like that, and the shopkeeper's bound to give you a discount when you're wearing a badge like this. This medallion screams tough and no one will mess with you. A profile pic with this earring is definitely going to get the dates in. And those earrings scream kiss me quick. Yeah, thanks for watching and have fun.